Yeah, so I mean, it looks like the hope is that they're going to make the company into a more digitalized company. I think they hired the founder of Chewy, or he came on board. I know he's a big investor, and that's just all it takes for these Reddit, Wall Street bets to pile back on. And let's be honest, I mean, it's not just Wall Street bets. There are hedge funds in there. They know they can utilize the Wall Street bets crowd to push the stock as well. So I'm sure there's a lot of that. But the volatility yesterday was incredible. The stock got to close to $350 and then dumped out all the way down to about 172 in a matter of minutes. I mean, if you take out, they halted the stock 3 times on the decline, but if you took it out, it was about 5 minutes of market action. Incredible. Incredible. And of course, you know me, when it was up at the 400 and change level, I was shorting it. So I was back in the market yesterday doing that same thing.
I like to decipher some of the facts from fiction. I've been hearing a lot from people that I know who are trading it. I've been hearing it. I've been reading some posts from the Wall Street Bets community. So one of the theories I've heard is that the institutions are also coming in. So rival hedge funds are trying to squeeze out their competitors who are short. Is there any indication of that being true right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there is. There's always a battle between hedge funds, and it's important to get the difference between fact and fiction. In fact, I just showed my trades from yesterday on the screen there, and you guys can see this is what I did yesterday. So you can see these are my actual trades from my Merrill Edge account. And, I wasn't doing crazy share size, 200 shares, 200, 300, 300, 300. But you can see the type of volatility that this breeds, the profits that I was able to generate yesterday, close to $40,000 in profits. Just one loser in there where I exited at a certain point where I thought I needed to before re-adding at higher levels. But I mean, just an incredible volatile move. But you're absolutely right that at this point, you are seeing hedge funds battling each other. There's lots that think the stock is going to go back to $20 or go out of business. And there's others that are saying, you know what, we can take advantage of them with the Wall Street Bets crowd and run this thing up and squeeze them out. And I think that's probably why it got close to $350 yesterday.
Okay. Now, let's talk about why you decided to get out and then get back in. Were you looking at any news from either Twitter, Reddit, or were you just looking at the technicals?
Yeah, it was more the technicals, and that's really, it's a momentum technical chart. So what I saw was the stock was getting closer and closer to 300. And what I've noticed, and this is something I use in my everyday trading, is that even numbers are like magnets. They pull stocks to them, they push through them briefly, and then they'll reverse. So I was short that one $4,000 loss yesterday. I was short, and I noticed that it was likely going to push above 300. So I said, you know what, let me take this small loss and then re-short it once it gets above 300. So that's exactly what I did. But again, it's a wild trading stock. And please notice that for my account size, 200 to 300 share increments is small for me. And I don't want a lot of average investors to think, holy cow, he's doing this with a massive amount of money. It's all relative. It wasn't a big risk for me at the time. And I want people to understand that.
How much company news is involved in the big swing? Because I'm looking at the AMC stock right now. That hasn't moved up as dramatically.
Yeah, you're right. So I think a lot has to do with this whole idea that this former Chewy player is getting involved. And the idea is, I mean, GameStop could be massive. And I understand that you could almost argue that the share price could be legitimate up here if they really had this pivot. But the problem is that investors are missing is that to get this pivot going, they would literally have to probably raise about $5 billion of capital, which would be insanely dilutive to current shareholders. So the turnaround, if they went digital, could be awesome, but the shareholders currently would get diluted tremendously.
They went digital. What do you mean by going digital? Like with their stores, they would be going online with digital stores?
That's what I think the end game is. I think that's the only way they can survive is by doing it somewhere where how you rent these games online, or you go to more of a Netflix model. Remember, Netflix at one point was mailing out DVDs to people's houses, and then they went digital.
All right, let's talk about the markets now. Broad market action, S&P 500. Now, last time you were on the show, which is not too long ago, you had said that we're reaching a top, we're reaching a peak. I remember you said that 4,000 points for the S&P 500 was sort of your upside target. Are you still maintaining that view?
Yeah. So I would expect a pierce of the 4,000 level on the S&P. In fact, we're up there making new highs today. I believe spiders are at above 395 right now. The one market I do think has topped, and this is the one that I was short going into when we talked last time. I was heavily short the Nasdaq, and that we actually covered our short positions at the lows. We had QID on the long, which is 2 times short the QQQ. We got out of that position for a nice gain. So those type of ones I did exit, but I am looking to reshort the Qs right here. There's a beautiful gap fill, and I think we'll get there. There's another level. I want to just show this real quick. The 3 moving average lines here, if you're a little bit more aggressive, you would short it right here. This is what's called a necktie, where 2 major moving averages, in this case, the 20 moving average and the 50 moving average, they converge. That's a huge amount of resistance. So I wouldn't be surprised if we got a 1 or 2 day pullback off of that before we pushed up towards that gap fill. But in my opinion, I think the NASDAQ has put in a multi-year top at this point, while the S&P is getting close. And the Dow, again, with the reopening trade, could still go higher for a couple months.
Okay. Now, I wonder whether or not you are still short Tesla. We talked about this before. It has seen a huge drop from its highs. And look, I'm not a technical expert like you, but it looks to me like it's sort of hit support, and it's bouncing around at the support level right now. What do you think?
Yeah, so I still have my big position. I traded around it, obviously, like traders do, where I was able to get out of some shares at the lows or near the lows, but I still have a core position short on this. You can see the level it bounced off of. Look at this beautiful trend line right down here. And this is the beauty of charting, these parallel lines. And you can see, again, this low pivot connector just goes right to where we bottomed out. And then the stock has actually bounced back per yesterday back to the 20 moving average. I actually think it's going to go a little bit higher. You see this upsloping, this secondary trend line in blue right here. Then you have the 50 moving average. And then right here, you have a gap fill. Notice how all 3 of those levels are together. That'll be where I reload the shares that I covered on the short side.